How bad you feel for Caroline, or is this a good thing just because you might as well get her healthy for a season or two afterwards?
Yeah, it's been ongoing for quite some time now, and we could never quite get a handle on it. We kept borrowing time, hoping that this would work, that would work, and I think there comes a time when you just have to make decisions that are based on life decisions, not just basketball decisions. So, actually, she'll be back tomorrow. She, she's pretty comfortable with it, obviously. Not happy with it, that you can't play, but understanding it's the right thing to do at the right time.
How exciting is it to have all the alumni coming in on Saturday?
Well, there is an awful lot of them, aren't there? I was hoping that we could get away with just doing like either just 03 or 04 or just 13 or 14, whatever, but squeezing both of them in at the same time, mostly because of logistics, when everybody can be available. We've had these things in the past, and half the team's available, the other half, but I know our players are excited about it. The players themselves are excited to come back and see what's going on up here, and there's a whole bunch of things planned, and hopefully they'll get a chance to see a great game.
It kind of jacks up the atmosphere a little bit, even more. To
I think so.
Big game sellout, but
yeah, I think it'll be a pretty exciting night for everybody.
How do you reflect back on those? I mean, obviously 20 and 10 years, but how do you reflect back on those four teams?
How do I reflect back on them? Well, you've got two completely different scenarios. The 03-04 team was just coming off a three-peat, and the other one was just starting, something really big, or they're in their second year or something really big. And one team kind of had to figure it out and grow, and everything that could go right had to go right. And then the 13 and 14 team, didn't matter if it went right or if it went wrong. They were just so damn talented and so good. So they each got it done in their own way, and they all have a lot of great memories. And it's probably the only time that the 203 and 204 teams, or especially D and Maria and Ash and Jessica Moore, and probably forgetting some people, that they come back and people look down on their 3 championships as no big deal. So it'll be fun.
Geno, what do you think makes a great rivalry in college sports these days? And do you think UConn, Notre Dame, what do you think of UConn, Notre Dame as it stands now?
Well, back in those crazy days, what made it, I think what it became was partly it was that we were in the same league, and that we would sometimes play each other. If we weren't careful, that would be the 4th time, twice in the regular season, tournament, and then the NCAA tournament, and it just got to be like nonstop, UConn, Notre Dame, UConn, Notre Dame, UConn, Notre Dame. When we weren't in the same league, that kind of became a measuring stick too for both of us, both teams. Okay, let's see where we are right now at this point in the season. I do think that stability has a lot to do with rivalries, You stay really good, you stay relevant. I don't know how many games we've played with Notre Dame where one of us was either 1 or 2 or 3 at worst, and the other one was the same thing. So that added to all the it has, they're a great team, and they've got terrific players, and they're good every year, and they're really well coached, and it's exciting to play them You know, whether it's at their place or whether it's here, it doesn't really matter. It's just exciting to play them.
What does it do to take now this new team that you've had to reconfigure a few times now to non-conference game again?
They seem to be pretty locked in. You know, I enjoy scheduling non-conference games during the season because it does take you to another place mentally. And a lot of times when you're playing within your league, you get tunnel vision, you know, and that's all you see. And this is a good opportunity to find out, like, all right, let's see what we're dealing with here in a month or so, you know. We certainly played a lot of NCAA tournament teams already this year, and we still got this one and plus another tough one coming up. I think those are exciting. They're exciting times. And the 4 players that we played, they probably don't even know Notre Dame's not in our league. They're like, man, it took us a long time to play them in our league. You know, they may not even know. Who knows? I'm not going to bring it up. We'll tell them we're tied for first place.
Notre Dame's also dealt with a lot of injury issues this year. I mean, just how do you feel like you guys match up with them personnel-wise looking right now?
Yeah, they've had some unfortunate things, you know, not to the extent that we've had, but they've had to scramble and try to fix their roster. They're slow, you know. They're slowly getting a little bit healthier. Sanaya's back, and that obviously is a big lift for them. But I think the matchup is pretty good. You know, they got a dynamite young point guard, you know, and so do we. And they've got some experienced players, and so do we. You know, they're a high-scoring team that loves to play fast, and so do we. And I just think there's a lot of similarities between our two teams. So it should be quite entertaining, I think.
You know, there's been so many legendary players involved in UConn, Tennessee, and also in UConn, Notre Dame. But people were really fixated also, though, on Pat and Geno and Geno and Muffet. Do you think there was a full and proper appreciation for the actual basketball and the players involved?
I hope so, because that's the easiest way to kill a rivalry, if you make it personal, you know. And I don't know that that's the case a lot of times in other sports, maybe because the coaches don't stay there for as long as, you know, Pat and I were here and Muffet and I were here. So it does kind of get to that point. I think other places coaches change, so it becomes, you know, UConn, Tennessee, or UConn, Notre Dame. It doesn't become, you know, him versus her and her versus him. That's the part that just, I think, kills rivalries. It just, you know, it may have been fun at one time, but it's lost its humor a long time ago. You know, I like to keep it with, you know, UConn versus whoever and leave it at that. But yeah, that's one of the unfortunate byproducts of being in the situation that we found ourselves in as coaches.
Paige obviously looked good for the rest of the game the other night. How'd she come out of it with that knee bump? She's fine. Good.
You know, we didn't do anything yesterday and had a little bit today, and she looked the same as she looked before. And you know, obviously, whenever something like that happens, everyone's holding their breath, you know. But you know, maybe our fortunes are starting to change a little bit, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. But all's good.
Do you notice a confidence shift in her? I mean, she seems like she's playing just a little bit more loose and freely now than she was even like 3 months ago.
Yeah, I found that with the best players, you know, they do not like being out on the floor if they don't think they're ready. In their mind is, if I'm not ready to play, then I can't be at my best. And if I can't be at my best, I don't want people to see me not at my best. So I think she was putting a lot of pressure on herself, and she kept saying, no, it's not going to come back in 1 week, it's not going to come back in 2 weeks, it's not going to come back in 5 games. But little by little, obviously it's come back, and she's her efficiency rating's got to be the highest in the country, right? I don't know that anybody gets more done in the least number of shot attempts. So I should maybe figure out a way to get her more shot attempts, huh?
KK and Ashlyn have been playing some really valuable minutes for you the past few weeks, and their points have come out. Can you just talk about, not the approach, just how you're looking at them going to Saturday and how impactful they're going to be?
I've almost forgotten that they're going through this for the first time. There was a time during November when it was really hard to function with them on the court. We tried to limit it to one at a time, you know, whether it was Q or whether it was Ash or whether it was KK, you know. Even Ice, you throw Ice in there, she's a freshman for all intents and purposes. And little by little now, I don't even look at them that way. I mean, I know that stuff comes out, you know, that, you know, that's going to happen. But you know what's great? Like Ash and KK probably made like 4 mistakes, big mistakes in the Marquette game. And Marquette, I think, got a 3 on every one of those. So it's like 12 points. And you're like crazy until you realize, you know, they got everything else right, but they get those wrong because that's what they're going to do. They're not going to get everything right. And what makes them feel better is the very next play, Paige will do something just as dumb, and that'll make them feel like, I don't feel so bad. You know? So they're getting a lot of encouragement from their teammates. Let's put it that way. But I don't even look at them as, you know, as the new guys anymore. I just expect the same things from them as I do from our veterans.
With Hidalgo at Notre Dame, I mean, just what do you see from her on tape? How does she kind of compare to those two you have in there?
Yeah, I think she has a much bigger role at Notre Dame than any of our guards have. I think with the injuries, you know, when Linda Miles was out and Citron was out, it's a lot. And I think she just grabbed it and ran with it, and it's been amazing. You know, she's had an amazing freshman year. Our guys have not been asked to do all that to this point, but I see her as one of the great new freshmen in college basketball, and there's certainly a lot of them this year. They just feel real comfortable out there, and there's, you know, you're trying to pinpoint some weaknesses in players, and you have to look pretty hard to find them. I think she's been. I mean, everybody knew she was going to be good. You know, everybody that watched her play in high school knew she was going to be good. But I think she's probably surpassed some people's expectations. But you always knew she was terrific. But sometimes you don't get the opportunity to do all that, you know? And she's gotten the opportunity, and God bless her, she's taken advantage of it.
Geno, considering that this team has gone through so many changes, what is it about the way that they approach adjustments after halftime that you've really enjoyed? Because when there have been tight games, it's like the third quarter can be magical for them.
Thinking that you can get an extended period of time and have their absolute total unbroken level of concentration, all of them, for 20 minutes from the time you leave the locker room to start a game is really, really hard. And there'll be breakdowns, and there'll be things that happen that I'm excited, because there's been some conversations on the bench between our players that have been really, really, really good, where our older guys have really stepped up and been very forceful in what they've said. Then when we go in the locker room, we kind of bundle that together, you know, and build on it. Now when we come out to start the third quarter, generally speaking, it's not every time, there's a renewed focus based on what we've done already. When you start a game, sometimes this is what's going to happen. And it may or may not, but when you go into halftime, this is what just happened. And so you have the enemy's right there in front of you, and you can fix it. And they're pretty good. You know, they're locked in on it. I've been, you know, searching harder than I have in November and December for things that I don't like. I find them, but I'm just having to search a little bit harder. So I'm pretty proud of them. I really am. I can't imagine being in their shoes, you know, after all that they've been through and having to go through this. So I just want the best for them. So I'm being. I didn't know what that word is because I haven't been that in a long time.
Calm.
Zen.
Zen, yeah. Yeah. Keep calm and carry on.
Has Kathy noticed a difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think the people around here on our program, I think there's a lot more. Okay, this is what it is. You know, it's not going to be great all the time, but it's going to be pretty darn good a lot of times, and we're choosing to focus on that. You know, I think that players coming back this weekend will be horrified to hear that. But it's a new world, you know. It's a new world, so strange new world. So we're trying to adapt to the strange new world.
Do you see?
Basketball.
Oops, sorry. Do you see similarities between this year's team and Dee's last year, where Dee had to basically carry the team?
It's
in that
almost
pace?
like it's more like Dee's freshman year. You know, 2 freshmen in the start lineup. You know, we probably have a little more experience on this year's team than we have back then. But those other guys had national championship experience, even though they weren't starters. But it's more like the 2003 team, where, yeah, you're trying to patch the thing together, and things just kept breaking right for us most of the time. The following year was an adventure, 2004. And maybe that's in store for us next year, who knows?